this. Introducing the original blood clad podcast, not PS. Soothing semantic. Special dedication all the way from New York. Boom. Yeah man, SWOT semantic. Yeah me now. Boom. Soothing semantic. Yeah me now. Big ups to the man now. Soothing semantic.
On another episode of Soothing Semantics, I'm your host, Rafi Pinsky. Today we have a very cool guest, Felix. How's it going, Felix? How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Rafi, for inviting me to your show.
Absolutely, absolutely, my pleasure. So another guest brought to you by Jackie Palawada. Thank you, Jackie. Appreciate you.
Yes, thank you, Jackie.
She's
for
great.
the referral.
Yeah. Listen, she's been very consistent as far as bringing very interesting people on the show, so she deserves credit for that. So we're both New Yorkers, man. Okay. Originally, right?
Yes.
And sure. Long story short, Felix does salsa. So, I mean, you teach it, correct?
No, I'm not a teacher. I trained for almost 6 years in New York with one of the best of the best, actually the best of the best, the Mambo King, Eddie Torres. He's the top pioneer of on-two style New York. It's New York style. So I trained with him for a few years.
What makes it New York style?
It's on-two. He's the creator of on-two style, which is there's different styles of salsa. We have salsa has the Cuban style, it has the on-one, which is LA, and it has the on-two, which is New York. Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to ask me my opinion between all these dances, every single dance, which is basically the same, sort of the same way, it's just like every style starts on a different beat. So, on two style, in my opinion, my personal opinion, since I'm a New Yorker, is like very elegant and very sensual compares to the other ones.
We'll show something.
Mm-hmm.
We'll definitely put something because some Latin people will probably be familiar with it, but a lot of other listeners will have no idea.
Okay.
So, now keep going.
Yeah, like I said, so in regards to your question, why on two, right?
Right.
So we said on two, like I said, it's a more refined style of dance, and it's like I don't know how to explain this to you. On two is sort of like it's a redefined dance. It's
a twist, like a twist on the original.
Yes.
Okay.
It is.
I'm curious now because I haven't seen it. That sounds awesome. So now is this becoming more popular in this area? Are you trying to bring that style here?
Actually, it was already here. It was already here, but it's like not in Miami. It was more a little bit more predominant in Broward than Miami. Miami is completely, I want to say, still Cuban style, mostly Cuban, and
that makes sense.
Yeah, so Broward, because there's a lot of people from different cultures, different ethnic groups living in Broward, so that's why it's more relevant in Broward. I want to say that.
Okay, that's awesome. And then you were doing club promotion as well in New York.
Yes, I was.
Okay, well, which clubs were you working at?
Well, I worked for Gonzalez. That was is a very popular club in New York where they have like salsa bands on every Thursdays, and it's still very consistent for a lot of years. I mean, I don't want to promote it, but I mean that's one of the clubs that I did in New York, and I used to promote it, other venues as well too in Queens. I started in Queens, and that was basically my thing, and helped a lot other venues to promote their events. So I was always like in tune with the salsa community in New York.
It's awesome. I've never done this. When I was younger and I was doing, I was more into the bars past couple of years. But I remember when I was going to clubs, I was going to Pasha as a younger 20s, teens. I mean, it shut down a while ago. You're familiar with it, probably?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And then there was a lot of them in Williamsburg I went to. Forgetting names already. But I had my years where I was going pretty hard, but never in the salsa, bachata,
You don't know what you're
merengue,
missing.
any
You
of
don't
that.
know.
I know, but now that I'm older, I feel like it's really nice because the clubs I'm used to just have that insanely loud music. No one can hear anything. There's just booze all over the floor. Everyone's wasted. With these music styles, there's this romantic ambiance to it, where there's this elegance to it.
Yes.
And you go there, and it's a totally different experience. You know, and
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I just never found myself going to it. It's cool.
It's like I said, I mean, the salsa itself, you know, especially the dance community, every single state in here in the States, have a community, their own community. So, and everybody, I want to say, know each other. There's salsa congresses everywhere. Salsa congresses in New York, LA, here in Florida, salsa congresses all over the world. So I want to say that most of these people, when they travel around, they go to different places, they already sort of in a way know each other. They have interacted with each other. Like I said, every state have their own community. But when sometimes people come from New York and they visit Florida, people already know who the dancer is, especially the person is popular in that particular state. They already know who the person is.
So it's kind of like how, and it's totally different, but in a sense, kind of like how you have a DJ. You know, let's say you have Steve Aoki or David Guetta, or you have these festivals like EDC. They're known everywhere, and there are these communities of those people. You know what I mean? The same way there are music style communities. Oh, we're EDMers, or we're hip hoppers, or anything like that. So you guys have your salsa, like you said, your salsa community in each state or each city, but then you come together when you go to other cities as well.
When you go to congresses, especially congresses or salsa festivals like that, that's when
congresses.
Yeah,
Interesting.
salsa congresses.
Okay, oh, that's awesome. So what do you find to be better from your experience? Do you miss the New York scene? Do you prefer it over the Florida scene?
Well, quite frankly, I mean, the New York City salsa scene has been around for a long time, and this is, for me, Florida is just something, in my personal opinion. Probably other people don't have the same opinion, but it's starting to grow. It's not a big scene. It's a small little scene.
How come though?
Growing.
There's so many Latin people here, and they've been here for a while. Why hasn't this been more prevalent?
Yeah, like I said, remember what I told you.
Miami, you said the
yes,
Cubans.
in Miami. Remember, Cubans have their own style. Colombians have their own style, but not everybody. I mean, for whatever reason here, this is like I said, in my 3 years living here in Florida, what I experienced that. Like the Cubans, they hang out with their own community. Colombians, they hang out. They're very segregated, But with the Ontu community, everybody comes together. You know what I mean? But some people are still segregating a lot. But the Ontu is what makes everybody come together.
How does it do that? How is it? Meaning, as opposed to a different salsa music style or a salsa style that doesn't have that togetherness. I mean, as you claim it to have.
Yeah.
What do you think about this brings people together? Why would they come together if they don't for other things?
Well, I think it has a lot to do. Let's say, for instance, people I'm a first generation New Yorker. You know what I mean? It's like people who was born over here. You know the languages, and you speak English, and then you want to integrate with whatever it's here. You know what I mean? Whatever whatever you know. But when you come with another country, and then it's hard for you to integrate. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So they just rather be within their own groups. So that's basically what it is.
Okay, dude, I'm gonna have to do one. I'm gonna have to go to one of these days.
Come to my event, and you'll see
I'm done.
people from all ethnic groups, and you like it a lot.
Sounds great. Yeah, it sounds great. It's a totally, like I said before, it's a totally different twist than what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Like back in the day when you were a teenager in New York, you know what the club scene's like.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just a bunch of drunk people and tables, and everyone's doing what they're doing.
I used to go everywhere to New York. Webster Hall,
Webster
the
Hall. Webster Hall was a dump, though. It was fun. So whoever's listening to this, if you owned Webster Hall or had any kind of foot or hand in that place, you did well. But that place was just anytime and everywhere you walk, there were just bottles of booze on the floor and cups, and that's all it was. But it was fun. There were all these different rooms. It was a cool place. I liked it.
It was a crazy spot.
Yeah, dude. The New York scene's amazing. No question about it. I just wonder with COVID, everything's still closed there, right?
Yeah. As far as I know, yes. I mean, there's no salsa scene right now. I mean, there's no there's no salsa clubs right now open in New York.
You think they're gonna be able to come back?
I'm not sure right now. They're shutting everything down again. There's a new spike according to the government.
How are these businesses gonna come back? Even these big clubs, even these mainstream clubs, like I'm trying to think of, I don't know. Give me an upscale lounge, an upscale like rooftop bar in the city.
In New York?
Prime time. I just can't remember them, but I used to.
I'm not sure, man. To be honest, I was mostly like.
It's crazy. I'm forgetting them, and I used to go to them often. Anyway, any of these lounges, even the ones that were making a killing, say they were open 15 years before COVID, every Saturday night, Friday night, even some Thursday nights, they're making money. They're selling expensive drinks. These drinks cost. I mean, you forget about it. You get a regular Jack and Coke, you're looking at 20 plus, maybe even more, right? And they're selling these nonstop all night, and there are people buying and buying and buying. But then COVID hits, these businesses are often renting their space, so they can't just get out of the lease, and they have all these expenses. What do they do? What do you think is going to happen to them? Well, especially the salsa places, because like if they weren't making a ton of money, if it's a small venue where people come, I mean, maybe in a sense it's easier because they don't have as much overhead and rent. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think a lot of them are going to go under?
A lot of people, I mean, I'm speaking from my own personal experience. I mean, I just started this 2 months ago. I mean, I just got this just when everything's starting to open again. But in the venue where I'm doing my event, which is Ovens on the Beach, they were a little slow until they found me. Right now, it's starting to pick up again. But we have inspectors coming in all the time, checking to see if everybody is wearing a mask, if they're following protocol and rules, city rules and stuff. So,
oh, wow, they're that strict about it?
Yeah. So it's not easy. Believe me, it's not easy. So, and I know for a fact that a lot, especially in Miami, which is suffering the consequences even more than Broward, because at least Broward, I think, is more lenient to the bars and clubs. Over there, the curfew's still there until 11 o'clock, and I know for sure that Wynwood is completely shut down.
Yeah, Wynwood was one of my spots. Wynwood, that's a place I miss. I liked Las Olas a lot and Wynwood. Brickell, here and there. South Beach, not at all. Not my thing. But Wynwood and Las Olas were usually my go-tos since I moved here. So now that they're dead, I mean, there's just nothing. There's a couple of bars you can go to, but nothing that's anything interesting, really. Unless you find these kind of speakeasies that no one knows about, you know what I mean, that aren't really supposed to be open. I know you're around. I just don't know about you yet. But, they exist. You just have to know a guy who knows a guy.
Yeah.
And those are fun because it brings you back to childhood. When you sneak into anything, you know what I mean. You like find a way to get under a bridge in a train track, and there's like a bus that's been there for 10 years, and you guys are partying on the bus, smoking weed or some stupid thing like that. So now when I managed to find one of those random bars that's not supposed to be open during COVID, you get this little like exciting feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like you're one of the 20 people there that knows it exists. And they like close the door. There's like tape on the door, and they're like, shh, I just went to one like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
It was cool. I'm saying
like an underground stuff.
I think it was allowed to be open, but it wasn't. They couldn't do what they did. Like there was way too much going on. You think the CIA is gonna check my phone and see where I went?
Hey, you never know.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, it's really wild though. That's what I wonder. Like the restaurants most businesses are taking a massive hit, obviously, but the social scenes, the social, the events and venues, they're really just. I mean, the business owners really have to just find another option because some of these places are expensive.
Well, what I hear is that some people are. I'm not sure, but I know this for sure in New York. When a business is not doing so well, they burn the place down.
Oh, for the insurance
money, yeah. And
but I mean, if they're all gonna start doing that, it's gonna be pretty obvious.
I heard something happen in Hollywood recently, so I'm not sure if that has something to do with that too.
I guess if the first guy in the neighborhood does it, and no one really copies him or her, they can get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
But once one person does it and people start following suit, at like a whole block of restaurants are burning down. Like, come on. I don't know. Like, you don't think they would look into that? I mean, who knows? It's wild. I don't know. I think what's simply going to happen is a lot of these venues are going to shut down permanently, and unless the owners of these venues have other business ventures, meaning they're entrepreneurs and have real estate and other things where this restaurant is not their major source of income, they can hold themselves over, and then they have passive income and they're wealthy enough where even though they're losing a ton of money during this period, they have other businesses to sustain them, and then they can decide to open something up post-COVID. But if you're somebody that this is your primary source of income and you don't really have anything else, you fucked.
Basically, that's what Albin told me, the owner of Albin's on the Beach. He told me that his main business is construction. Mm-hmm. So and he's doing pretty well. So he told me, Felix, if I didn't have my construction business, I would have been out of business already. So.
Well, what else does he do?
He just does construction. Like he has major.
Oh, I thought he had some sort of venue.
No.
Okay.
He has the venue at the beach where I promote my event. But he said if it hadn't been for his construction company, he would have been out of business already.
He's smart, man. Mm-hmm. Because construction is, no matter what happens, we need construction. Mm-hmm. Especially because now so many people are moving here. So construction is needed more than ever. I don't know more than ever, but the past couple of months, tons of people, especially from the tri-state, have been moving here into Texas. Yeah. I'm sure other places too, maybe Nashville and whatever, but Florida specifically. So tons of new projects, complexes, buildings, things are being built. People need homes. So this is great for anyone in real estate, and it's great for contractors. Yeah. It's great for developers. It's great for anyone doing construction. Those are the kind of businesses that'll never really... I'm sure they have their ups and downs, but even with the pandemic, they'll never really have no work, I think,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, no, it's good that he has that. It's for sure. It's very good that he has it. He's lucky. But other than that, what do you expect to do to bring your business further?
Well, you have always had ideas, and the main thing for me right now is just to start, one step at a time. I don't want to. Remember, this pandemic is sort of putting a lot of limits on people, but I'm definitely. I have a website called salsalives.com.
Yeah, you told me about
which it's been out for a long time, and I'm rebuilding it again. The goal is my goal, as a promoter, is to become the next either Ralph Mercado or Felix Trinidad. Those are the biggest, names in terms of promotion. Mm-hmm. They do large scale events like Madison Square Garden. They fill up arenas, things like that. So basically, that's what I want to do eventually.
That's crazy. That's impressive. Because whenever I think of these salsa things, and simply because I don't know, I assume they're these kind of little, maybe a larger venue, but not Madison Square Garden size. Yes, they have events like that?
They do. In New York, it's the mecca of salsa. So, and all these two guys I just mentioned to you, Ralph Mercado was basically the pioneer, and I believe in promoting, putting things together, and he had a large scales, events, not just regular club events, but he had he promoted businesses. I mean, he did Madison Square Garden and a bunch of other arenas.
How do you organize that though? Let's say what I meant by that is let's say you do it at Madison Square Garden. Obviously, the entire floor area is of different couples and people dancing, right? But what about people in the stands?
So this is what happened. Okay, I'm talking about the 70s and 80s here. I'm not talking about something recent, because the salsa has changed. I'm not talking about the music itself. I'm talking about the community itself. It's changed a lot. Remember back in the days in the 80s, want to say 70s and 80s, there was a lot of, I want to say, drug money. So, and it was easily sponsored by, you know, certain people, you know, people with money. So now it's different. It's very difficult to do large scale events. I mean, they do have them in New York, but I mean, it's mostly promoted by radio stations, by TV, you know, by like major companies. But now Felix and I is the only one that's still there doing events over there. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure how he does it, but I mean, he's the one that is the biggest name right now in New York in terms of promoting big events.
There's a lot. I've always kind of wanted to get into dance, specifically Latin dance. I've never gotten to it because there were other things that took precedence. There were other things that like were bigger priorities. But it's the kind of thing that I think it's really nice to be able to do this with a significant other, especially.
Yeah, you could go by yourself. Not only you don't need to have somebody. I mean,
yeah, I know, but I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know when I'll do that. I feel like if the girl I'm dating would be open to taking classes, that would be something I would love to do. You know, I've thought about it, like having a wedding, like a cool Latin wedding dance.
Yeah.
Even whether it's slow or faster, maybe it'll start slow and kind of get a little faster and more sensual and everything. That when I see some couples dancing, not necessarily people that are dating, but just, you know, guy and girl dancing. Mm-hmm. People who don't know how to dance, we're mesmerized by that stuff. Like we really are. It's so. There's nothing you can't describe it. It's so fluid and smooth and sensual, and it just shows the energy between a man and a woman. And you could be two guys dancing, two women dancing, whatever it is. But whatever the case may be, there's this connection, this spiritual connection, this physical connection, this emotional connection, and it's coming out in dance. The same way we do it with music, we also have it with dance. And I also feel like the way music can bring people of all races, color, and creeds together. Dancing has that ability. You know, music can bring enemies together. It's crazy. So,
when was the last time you went to a salsa event?
I've never been to one. I know I've seen it in front of me, but it was one of those things where I must have been walking through a street in New York and people were doing it, or I saw it on TV for sure. But I've never been like purposely went to one. But I've seen all different kinds of Latin dances throughout my life, but just I didn't know what they were. Like I couldn't pinpoint. Oh yeah, that's salsa. Oh yeah, that's bachata. That's what do you call it? Merengue?
Salsa, bachata, merengue.
Right. So I couldn't.
Cumbia. There's a lot of rhythms.
Yeah. So I can't tell what's what necessarily, but they're all very cool.
Oh, I'm gonna extend my invitation whenever you have some time. Stop by.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna like give you an exact date right now, but I absolutely would love to, and I plan to take you up on that offer. It'd be awesome. Cool. It would be awesome. I think it's just one of those things. Dance is great. Dance is really good. It helps you just. It's a healthy way to exercise, and it also takes you away from a lot of the stresses in life. You know,
That's for sure.
You could be doing so much. You might be a single mom with kids, or a guy with some sort of medical condition, or you can be in 3 years of medical school. It can be anything. And this is one of those healthy things with no negative side effects that just makes you feel fucking amazing. Whenever I have enough of this, I always want to dance, but it's this pretty bad attempt. I think I have a pretty decent natural rhythm. But I need someone to teach me how to actually dance. It's more of like the hip hop, you know, rap kind of, or house music kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like the American college party kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
That's a little different.
It's not actually dancing. It's more like jumping over a table and like throwing a ball in a cup. But you know, it works. What got you into it though? What at what age was it? Is it in your family?
I've been dancing since I was, as far as I can remember, since I was a child.
Oh, so it's in your family?
Yes.
Like your family was doing that?
Yes. Remember.
I mean, it only makes sense, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I remember my uncle, my mom, my uncle, my aunt. You know, they used to, you know, go on television to dance salsa and contests like that. This is like in my early years. I want to say like 4 or 5 years old, and I used to listen to the music, and I loved it. And ever since I can recognize the beat I was always in love with it. So just within.
Okay, yeah, so it's a cultural thing, and you've just turned it into a business. Yeah, dude, it's awesome. It's just a classic example of doing what you love for a living, and that's the best.
The salsa community can be a little rough, especially if you are an experienced dancer. You've been dancing for a long time. Like let's say, for instance, a person, a newbie or a beginner, will come around and they don't know, certain, like they don't know how to follow yet or lead. I'm sorry, they don't know how to lead, especially this guy that doesn't know how to lead. Some girls can be a little bit, I want to say mean to the guy, and some girls will either finish the dance. If she's polite, she's gonna go through the entire dance, maybe giving you faces or not giving you, but you'll feel that there's no connection anymore. You feel like you're gonna feel like the stress in the girl, and then those 2-3 minutes of song converts into a 20-minute because you just want that song to finish. But some girls also walk away from the guy. And some girls can be mean. And the same thing goes with guys. Guys, if the girl doesn't know how to dance, he wouldn't ever ask her again unless unless he sees that she's been practicing and doing her.
She wants to learn it or whatever it is. Here's another thing though. When you see like from an inexperienced standpoint, sometimes you see a lot of the time when you see two experienced male and female dancers together, sometimes they look like they're having, like, I'm just being honest, they look like they're having sex in their, it looks like a sexual encounter. I'm being honest. I think a lot of us think that. There's so much what's the word?
Passion?
Sensuality, if that's there's so much passion with them, and they'll do some of these moves are very sensual. Like, how can you be that what's the word? How can you be that connected, the way they're touching each other and looking at each other and all that, and not have and be completely platonic?
Well, I'm not sure.
I've never, because it's so much more intense than, say, being at some random club and a woman's dancing up on a guy or whatever it is. It looks kind of cheap and whatever. But when you see this kind of dancing, it's so intense. It's hard for me to see that. It's hard to see like a man and woman doing that and then not imagine that they have some kind of relationship.
But it all depends which dance, because I mean in salsa, quite frankly, you don't really get very close.
Oh, so what kind of?
That's probably bachata. You're talking about bachata, or you're talking about maybe kizomba. That's a very sensual, extremely like mostly body contact and very close to each other. Like same thing bachata.
So when they do that though, women feel comfortable doing that with a guy that they have no interest in.
It all depends on the girl.
That's true, I guess.
It all depends on the girl.
Yeah, I just see some of these dances and I'm like, well, they must be together. I don't know. It's kind of like this. Because I'm so far from it, I can't understand it. It's more of a culture that I'm not familiar with. But if I understood it and grew up with it, I'd be like, yeah, this is what it is. You know what I mean? So I try to look at it that way. But for me, and I think a lot of people who don't know, who've never done it, we see it that way. Just the way they're looking at each other and holding each other, and the moves. Sometimes the moves are really suggestive, honestly. Like they're making it pretty clear that this is what's happening. This is what's happening with clothing on. Do you get what I'm saying? You've ever seen Dancing with the Stars? Like some of these dances are very intense. And that's what gets the.
But then there's some mutual connection between them too, because I mean it all depends on the connection you have with the girl, or probably they know each other, or they have danced before and they feel comfortable with each other. I mean I don't know, to be honest. When I dance bachata with someone, or I don't dance kizomba, but if I dance bachata with someone, like I tend to. I want to say like keep my distance, because I don't want to make the girl feel uncomfortable. But a lot of guys, they use. Especially with sensual bachata, they just go at it, and they use, one way or another, I'm not saying not everyone is like that, but they do it a lot.
Yeah, no, that was, to be honest, that was kind of something I was wondering. I wasn't like sure how to kind of word it, but I think this is something that inexperienced dancers. Or inexperienced non-dancers, if that makes sense.
Salsa is a very sexy dance. It's not so sensual. It's very sexy, you know. I mean,
It's not as intense.
It's beautiful. It's elegant. I mean, that compared to, you know, like I want to say like bachata or sensual bachata, which is more body connection, you know, like it's more closeness than salsa. You don't really see that much, you know.
I think a combo of all of them would be really cool. I'm glad you answered these questions though, because I've always wanted to know. I've always wondered that, especially for guys. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like guys are guys, right? Guys are guys. Like you have a dance like that. It's very sensual, and then you're just friends with. I don't know. Does it make sense?
It all depends on the mindset of the person.
Yeah,
it all depends on the mindset. I mean, because some people when they go dance, they go to dance, and, you know, and
yeah,
and to have fun and to, you know, meet up with friends and, you know, have a good time. You know, other people go with other intentions, of course, you know. But
yeah, but would you? You're 100% right, man. And I think it's ultimately because I have no familiarity with it. But realistically, would a very and looks are relatively subjective, but say we're being realistic here. Say there's a very attractive man or a very attractive woman, and then there's a man or woman that's just not as attractive as that person. Would they be as intense about the bachata with someone who's attractive? Probably not.
No, I mean,
right?
When let me put it this way: it doesn't matter how ugly you are, how cute you are. You know, if you know how to dance, you know, you're gonna find a connection. The girl's gonna find a connection with you. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, and when I say,
that's cool. I like that. It's like that. It's really cool.
It has nothing to do with looks. It has to do with
Felix. You're saying I have a chance. I appreciate you.
Of course, everybody has a chance.
Okay, I'm good.
And one of the things like I learned, and it's like, but it has nothing to do with seduction. It's about eye contact, keeping eye contact with your partner when you're dancing with, but because that gives you a connection. You know what I mean? When you have eye contact with the lady or with your partner, whoever you're dancing with. But you know, like it all depends on. You know, you don't have to be staring at the girl. You know what I mean? But you know, when you're dancing, so, you know, like you look at the person, look at the eyes, then you look away. I mean, but you have to find a connection in order to continue moving.
There's a classiness to it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of Americans, you know, Americans or people who don't know how to do these dances, we just kind of see the seductive kind of. And I'm not speaking for everybody, but I think it's pretty accurate. I think. People who see it on TV, they see two people and they're holding each other and throwing each other around and they're looking at each other's eyes and, you know, grabbing each other. You automatically look at it in that way. But when you explain it and you make it for people that are familiar with it, when it's part of their culture, it is a dance and it has something beautiful to it. There's definitely could be a romantic thing about it, if two people are actually together. But for the people that grew up doing it, for them it is what it is. It's simply a dance, and you can. I think they're able to turn off all of that kind of outside nonsense and just make it what it is in its true essence. And I think that's something that I wouldn't have been able to come to this conclusion if I didn't have this discussion with you. It's pretty cool. You know, I think there's definitely people who wonder the same thing, and now if they're listening to this, they have some understanding. So that's really cool.
I mean, a lot of guys, I dance a lot with a lot of ladies, you know what I mean? And I can have a very good connection with the ladies, you know what I mean, on the dance floor. But it's just that, you know, a connection on the dance floor. There's nothing else other than that. Once the song finish, you know, you move on and that's it, you know what I mean? I mean, it all depends on your mindset, you know, where you what do you want to achieve, you know? You know, if you're attracted to the girl and then you have other intentions, it's a totally different story. But, you know, for those who love to dance, you know, having fun, you know, having a good time and meeting up with friends, maybe meeting up with new people, meeting new people. It's all about the dance.
It's the best intention, honestly. It's if that's one thing. If you're going for the intention of dancing, it'll be a much better experience. You know, I mean, that's just what I think.
And like you said, I mean, and to be clear about something, it's like a lot of people you see, and I want to say maybe non-Latinos, non-Latin people, when they see that sensuality, they think it's okay. I want to get, you know, I want to learn this because maybe this is my new way to try to seduce someone. You know what I mean? But it's not really like that. You know what I mean? It's like some people they get involved in the salsa scene for the wrong reasons. You know what I mean? Not because of the passion of the music. It's just because of the dance. You know
Does it ever happen where a new guy comes in and you can kind of tell that that's his intention, and it throws off the vibe?
All the
because
time, man.
really,
All the time. All
and
the time.
he's that like oddball, and everyone else is just trying to enjoy it for the sake of enjoying it, and he's being that kind of dude, and you're just kind of like, dude, you're killing it.
Yeah, no, actually, and this happened with this Dominican guy that I met not so long ago, and I'm not gonna say his name because I'm very cool with him, so I sort of had to wake him up regarding the what the community is all about. You know what I mean? So he was not part of the community. All he wanted to do was trying to he was chasing the girls, and I told him, man, don't do that ever, man. I mean, when you come to any event within the salsa scene, don't, because people know each other and people talk. You know what I mean? So you start doing that, they're gonna think of you as the guy the outsider who wants to just get with the girls. So, and that's gonna build a reputation, a very negative reputation.
Dude, that's true in general. That's true in general. It's very interesting. Yeah, no, you're making perfect sense. You're making absolutely perfect sense.
I'm not a DJ.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a DJ. I just play music and play music that because I've been criticized a lot for not being a DJ, but I honestly think that I have better music than a lot of DJs. And within salsa, salsa music, you don't need to be a DJ because it's not like you have to mix a song, because most dancers, they want their entire song to be finished from the beginning to the end, and then a new track comes in. You know what I mean? So there's no such thing like, oh, you have to be a DJ in order to play a song. You can just push and play, and that's about it. So I've been criticized. I'm not a DJ, like I said, but I know I have a kick-ass playlist. You know what I mean? Which is a collection of the best socials in New York, and even the nightclubs in New York. So I have a very good music that people never heard it here in Florida. So I've been criticized for not playing commercial music. Commercial music, you don't really hear commercial music and played in clubs and socials in New York. DJs in New York, they don't. I don't know. Not even if somebody requests. Let's say for instance, Mark Anthony on a social, they're not gonna play that. Salseros, like hardcore dancers, they like their hardcore stuff, like old school, that music that you don't hear in the radio. Period. So
because it's not original, meaning DJs have generally a pretty deep taste for music. That's their life. They have a love for music generally. So I think, and I'm not a DJ, but I've heard this before, and it makes sense. You're playing stuff on the radio. Okay, some songs, you want to play a song here and there that's on the radio. People are like, oh, yeah, it's that new song. We hear it all the time. But if you're playing all of the current music, anyone who has a real love for music, they're going to be like, yo, okay, we hear this all the time. I'll hear it tomorrow. I want to hear stuff that I forgot that I love.
You just go to your car.
Give me some throwbacks. Yeah, people want throwbacks. People want 90s music. They want Jay-Z, Timbaland, Nelly Furtado, Fitty, and that's all hip hop. But, and that's a lot of the music that we play in these events because that's what gets you going. Yeah. The list goes on. Snoop, Nas, whoever it is, Eminem. Well, Eminem, you can't really do in the club scene as much. Just not really. Well, you could. It depends. But people like those things, the 80s, the 90s, even the 70s, things of that nature as opposed to just playing everything that's current, and I think you just switch it up. That's the idea of the mixing, the new stuff, the old stuff, the in-between. And I think that's what gets me going. When I hear that throwback from the early 2000s, I'm like, yo,
Yeah.
Everyone loves that.
Like I said, it all depends who you playing for. Like I said, I mean, if you play for person, let's say like me, born and raised in New York, you know what I mean, and anybody that was born and raised here that is not used to commercials, someone that's been in the country, let's say for 5-6 years, who grew up or listening to Mark Anthony or Victor Manuel, which you're never gonna hear that in the regular social scene, never. You're gonna hear hardcore, Fania All Stars music. You're gonna hear like really, really like hardcore music. Like I said, I mean. But like a lot of people here in Florida, they sort of demand or they want me to play a little bit commercial, which I do it just out of courtesy. But to be honest, not something
that you would normally do.
No. Well, and yes, and I'm not a DJ, and I always say it. I'm not a DJ, but I play better music than a lot of DJs here for sure.
Dude, that's another option for you. Well, you're doing it anyway, but I'm saying yeah. Okay. Well, I think we'll wrap up for today. Okay. Dude, it's been a pleasure. Definitely a topic of discussion I knew little to nothing about. So thanks for giving me a lot of new a new understanding of how this specific dance scene works. So thank you for that. It was very educational. I hope you guys liked it as well. And
no problem, man. I appreciate the invite, and like I said, I mean,
sure, man.
Thank you for Jackie introduced me to you.
Yep.
And
Again, credit to Jackie.
Girl, yes.
Credit to Jackie. She's gonna have some more eventually. Hopefully, she'll once this podcast becomes a big deal.
She's a huge supporter.
She is going to have her moment of thanks. That's for damn sure. So, without further ado, Felix, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me again.
Absolutely, man. It's been a pleasure meeting you. Had a really nice time. And guys, stay tuned for the next episode.
Thank you.